So let there be no doubt, the situation for the Palestinian people is intolerable. And America will not turn our backs on the legitimate Palestinian aspiration for dignity, opportunity, and a state of their own. The only resolution is for the aspirations of both sides to be met through two states where Israelis and Palestinians each live in peace and security.
The president in Cairo talked at length about the Israeli-Palestinian situation. He did defend the legitimacy of Israel as the Jewish homeland, but did not mention the words Jewish state. He talked a lot about the plight of the Palestinians. Let's bring back our panel. Steve, your thoughts on this?
Well, earlier Charles said that one of the easiest ways to get applause is to criticize the United States. The same obviously can be said in that part of the world criticizing Israel. So he got a lot of applause because there was a lot of criticism of Israel in his speech. And I think, going back to what we were talking about earlier about moral equivalence, I think that that was in evidence in a significant way in that part of his speech where he addressed the Israeli-Palestinian dispute. I mean, he talked about, he went through in detail about the Holocaust and chided, I think, Ahmadinejad and others for denying that there was a Holocaust, which was welcome. But then followed it up literally by saying, on the other hand, and talked about dislocation of Palestinians. You can't read that as being anything other than moral equivalence, and I think it's deeply troubling.
Look, he said that there's an unbreakable alliance between the United States and Israel. He said that the Palestinians, in pressing their cause, should not resort to violence, including Hamas. Good luck. But he also said that this is a legitimate Jewish homeland. He said he denounced anti-Semitism, denounced Holocaust denial. I think that it's clear that the United States is still allied with Israel. What we want them to do is to stop settlement activity and accept a two-state solution in the end. And this speech was an attempt to advance that cause. The one big missing ingredient, the crowning missing ingredient in this entire speech was any mention of Anwar Sadat. This is the 30th anniversary of Anwar Sadat making peace with the Israelis. He should have said Anwar Sadat is a model for the entire Islamic world, especially the Arab world. Saudi Arabia, do what Anwar Sadat did.
So 6,000 words. Why didn't he do it?
Well, I do not know. I do not know. I think it's a crushing error on his part.
Because it would support the notion of Israel as a seeker of peace, which would not have gotten him applause. He didn't mention either Israel's acceptance of the partition in 1947, which the Arabs rejected, or the offer Israel had made in Camp David 9 years ago of a Palestinian state. Arabs rejected, or the offer that Ehud Olmert made in December of 2008 to Mahmoud Abbas. Also rejected. No mention of that at all. And this appalling moral equivalence of, on the one hand, the Holocaust, on the other hand, dislocation, and Arab dislocation, as he said, at the birth of Israel. First of all, it's obscene to make a comparison, a moral comparison, between a genocide and dislocation. Second of all, the dislocation of the Arabs did not occur at the birth of Israel. It occurred as a result of the invasion of Israel at its birth by Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, and Transjordan, and Palestinian irregulars. It was in that war which the Arabs lost, intended to expel and destroy Israel, in that war that was lost, that the Arab refugee issue was created. That's a history he left out. It was a selective history, and I thought it was extremely unfairly presented.
We have the public statement from Israeli officials, but privately, how do you think Israel reacts to this speech, Charles?
With shock. There was a gratuitous attack on Israel over settlements. The only concrete element of the entire speech on the Arab-Israeli dispute, an attack on Israel over an irrelevancy, the thickening of settlements, which is not a major issue in the peace process, and the undermining of the Israeli narrative in pretending that the creation of Israel is a result of the Holocaust. Zionism started at least 100 years earlier, and all of that is left out.
Mort, we talked a little bit in the break about another thing that was left out when he talked about head coverings, the hijabs.
Yeah, he mentioned 3 times the protecting the right of Muslim women to wear hijabs, headscarves. He never mentioned the possibility, as Rob Satloff of the Washington Institute on Near East Policy pointed out, not to wear hijabs or not to live under Sharia law and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, a bigger point is that he said that an Arab regime could be acceptable. I mean, a Muslim regime could be acceptable if it lives in peace and respects the rights of its citizens. But that allows the possibility of living under Sharia. Sharia is a religious law. In places it's very restrictive, and he seemed to think that was just fine.
Steve, will this speech be remembered for what was said or what wasn't said?
Well, I think it'll be remembered for what was said to the audience he delivered it to today specifically. But over here, I think we're likely to remember it for what wasn't said.
That's it for the panel, but stay tuned for an inside look at another network's inside look at the White House.